is relevant. There was a debate not only between the administration and the Congress, but also at times between the military brass and the Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, the generals and the admirals looking for billions of dollars in fresh money immediately. They say they didn't have enough money to buy fuels and ammunition and supplies to conduct proper training. This before this tragic event and before the military planning. Any sense of grumbling over at the Pentagon at all that we're not ready for this?
Well, not really. I mean, I think that they believe that that they are more than ready with the massive forces that they have and the specialized forces that they have, by which I mean commando units and that type of thing. But the symptomatic problems you're talking about are long-range problems in the military, problems that they've been trying to solve for a long time. And you add to that the debate over the military expenditures for the missile defense shields, that type of thing. That was all part of it. But right now I think there's a general belief here that the military is ready to do whatever it has to do. Right now they're trying to determine whatever it is it has to do.
All right, CNN's Bob Franken standing watch at the Pentagon. We thank you for that report. And for now, we go back to Paula Zahn in New York.
John, one real quick question for you. I know you cited some CNN polling that said that by and large Americans support military action against whoever was responsible for these attacks. And I know the latest poll in the New York Times, CBS News, also indicates that, that 85% back the action against those responsible. 75% still support a military engagement, even if that risks the deaths of innocent people. Now that the administration has floated the idea that ground troops, U.S. ground troops, might be deployed, is there concern there that that would in any way weaken these numbers?
There is not a concern at the outset that it would weaken these numbers, and the administration is very encouraged from the public support from key members of Congress who say, yes, look, 2 years ago the Clinton administration tried cruise missiles against the bin Laden organization. Obviously that was not successful, or certainly not as successful as that the Clinton administration would have hoped. Democrats as well as Republicans saying some ground options need to be considered here and perhaps might be likely if the president has a military strike. The issue is down the line, Paula, once those ground troops go in, if there are casualties, if there are any retaliatory terrorist acts against the United States when that happens, that will be the key test of public opinion. The administration very happy, very encouraged by the public opinion polling right now, although everyone in the administration would concede the American people quite numb right now. No one is sure any poll taken today is any great reflection of where the American people will be a week or a month from now.
All right, John, thanks so much. Right now we head to northern Afghanistan, where Dr. Abdullah Abdullah joins me this morning. He is the foreign minister of the Islamic State of Afghanistan. He is the new opposition leader, or the new leader of the opposition to the Taliban. Welcome, sir. As I understand
yes, thank you.
As I understand it, you and your supporters have offered to help turn over Osama bin Laden and his supporters to either Pakistan or the United States. How are you going to do that?
What we have offered is our support in any operation against terrorist camps in Afghanistan, because at the moment we are already fighting against the terrorist groups in Afghanistan, and we lost one of our heroes just yesterday as a result of a terrorist attempt against him, which was connected to Osama bin Laden. So we are fighting the enemy of the world, which I mean Osama bin Laden. If the United States of America is about to show a reaction against terrorists and their collaborators, they should consult us and see what, how much effective our support in our cooperation would be.
You and your regular 15,000 or so supporters are ready to join the fight. How difficult of a task does the U.S. face, and the friendly nations that are supporting this coalition that's being put together in the region? What kind of risk do they face?
At the moment, we don't know. We don't have any idea about the characteristic of the program of the United States, and we don't know how that operation would be launched. I think if there is a serious reaction, they should consider our forces, which is already fighting against terrorists in Afghanistan and have been effective in their fightings against them. I think it wouldn't be an easy task, but it is possible to tackle this menace in Afghanistan by cooperation with the forces which are already fighting against them.
You say it will not be an easy task, and as you've made it very clear this morning, you are more experienced in dealing with Osama bin Laden and his supporters than anybody else. Why haven't you and your followers been able to get Osama bin Laden?
I think since Taliban, which had the full support of Pakistan, they control a large part of the country, and we had made calls to the international community that this problem is increasing day by day, and in Osama, Pakistan, and Taliban were given chance in time. It is 5-6 years since Osama is there, and we have been fighting against them, and they are getting stronger day by day. Terrorists from all over the world have joined them. There isn't a balance between our forces and the forces which Taliban gather, or terrorists which are joining Osama in hundreds, if not in thousands, every year.
Do you have any idea where Osama bin Laden is right now?
Since 6 days, Mullah Omar and Osama undergone secret, and we haven't been able to find out where they stay. But roughly, of course, we understand that they are in southern Afghanistan, in Kandahar province, in rural areas. This is as much as we know at this moment.
There are a lot of questions being asked about your predecessor, Masood, whether he was dead, whether he was alive. Who killed him? Or do you believe him to be dead?
Yes, he was killed by 2 Arab journalists, which they have posed, in fact, as journalists. Those journalists had gone to Pakistan before coming to Afghanistan, and they had been in the areas under Taliban control for some time, and then they were able to make an assassination attempt on 9th of September against Commander Masood, and Commander Masood passed yesterday, and he was buried today. The funeral ceremony was today, this morning, and CNN crew filmed that ceremony.
So he obviously, you think, died from injuries suffering in this suicide bombing on Saturday. Sir, what can you tell us about any movement of Afghanis for the borders in anticipation of a war? Are people trying to get out? Yes,
there have been reports about the borders with Islamic Republic of Iran as well as with Pakistan. Ordinary people, they are fear of retaliation or military operation. They try to leave Afghanistan en masse. Of course, there should be a clear differentiation or distinction between the ordinary people of Afghanistan, which are against the Taliban and against the terrorist groups in Afghanistan, and the Taliban leadership. The Taliban leadership, they are trying to hide out these days. We received reports since yesterday that in the front lines, which we are facing with the Taliban and with the terrorist groups, the Arabs and Pakistanis are moving away from the front line, or they are evacuating the front lines. While a few days ago there were reports that the leadership of the Taliban, they had gone to the front lines to get away from the centers, which might be the targets of a retaliation operation by the United States. I think somehow they might have seen no action. Now they have gone back to their business, the Taliban leadership, except Mullah Omar, which is in hiding still.
All right. What do you expect tomorrow when a high-level Pakistani delegation descends on Afghanistan and demands that the Taliban turn over Osama bin Laden?
Pakistanis are not supposed to demand the Taliban to turn over Osama. What Pakistanis has to do to cut off support to the Taliban and to halt the recognition of the Taliban government as the legitimate government of Afghanistan. Pakistan, is, as you know, is one of the 3 countries which they recognize Taliban as the official government. And the other thing which they can do is to stop supplying Taliban with arms and ammunition. This will diminish Taliban's capacity in launching war, in controlling the areas of Afghanistan, while Pakistanis have been trying to deny their support for the Taliban in their influence to the Taliban. If they don't have influence over the Taliban, then it is even worse. They have created a group and continue to support them, while from the other side they claim that they don't have an influence over them. I think this is just an act of getting some more time. If Pakistan succeeds to get time and waste resources, I think it will be a failed operation right from the beginning.
All right, so you sound pretty skeptical of what Pakistan is offering at the moment, but in exchange for its cooperation, what Pakistan wants from the United States is retiring some $30 billion in debt. It wants Pakistan to get involved with the Kashmir dispute with India. Do you believe that if the U.S. follows through with some of those requests, then in fact some of those things that you'd like to see stopped, like the transporting and the supplying of weapons across the border, will stop?
Pakistan will not be able to give that debt to refund that anyway. And from the other side, the Kashmir problem is not something with the United States. It is with India, and it is a dispute which has to be solved between India and Pakistan. Yes, I am skeptical of the Pakistanis' stand, because if they still say that they don't have influence and they have to send delegation, I think it is the same circle, the same vicious circle which the international community has gone through in the past years. When Pakistan was asked to call Taliban not to destroy Buddha statues sometimes ago, they said that they will send a delegation to the Taliban, while this didn't help. These things have happened in the past, and this is the basis for our skepticism when we heard that Pakistan is trying the same methods once again in a very serious affair.
All right. Abdullah, thank you very much for your perspective this morning. The Foreign Minister of the Islamic State of Afghanistan, the new leader who replaced Massoud, who is represents the opposition to the Taliban. Thank you. Joining us this morning by video phone. Back here in New York, the gruesome task of digging through the rubble continues. I want to check in with Bill Hemmer, who joins us from close to ground zero. I think, Bill, we haven't had a chance to mention this enough this morning, but the mayor of New York City continuing to call this a rescue operation until all hope has expired. That's significant, isn't it?
It is, especially for those who are still holding out the possibility that, again, some people may be pulled out of the rubble behind us here. It has been 5 days, though.
Perfect timing.
Going back to last Wednesday, since any survivors were pulled out of the former World Trade Center here in Lower Manhattan. The fire commissioner, Paula, gave us a pretty good description, though, of what he felt was happening. He said, you know, it's one thing to see the rubble above ground, but what we're not seeing, he says, is a volcano-like shape that goes about 7 stories below ground, to give you an indication of how much structure came crashing down on Tuesday morning of last week. Also, Paula, we're seeing the smoke that continues to come out here. In addition to that, we're seeing a lot of steam. We're told that the steel that in many cases had heated to well over 1,000 degrees on Tuesday is still hot at this point, and the water hoses that continue to treat that steel, that's what's emitting a lot of that the steam that we're seeing. In fact, NASA released an image over the weekend that we can see clearly from space, that trail of steam that extends for the southern end, the southern tip of Manhattan Island. In fact, when we flew up the other day here in New York, coming in at a low altitude over New Jersey, we could see from 40 miles away, it was the tallest thing on the horizon. Again, that steam trail and smoke trail that leads out into the sky from the former World Trade Center. You know, the numbers are staggering, close to 5,000 still missing at this point, including 300 firefighters. And yesterday here in Manhattan, the fire chaplain had his funeral service held here, and there was one person in attendance who refused to miss that service. CNN's Richard Blystone and his story.
Surgery is going to keep news photographer David Handschuh away from some friends' funerals. But this one he wasn't going to miss, because in the line of duty he saw a lot of Father Mike Judge, the firefighter